Now. Welcome to Jericho Girls Gather. I am so excited to be here tonight with my good friend Jendayi Harris, who just wrote a book called The Chubby Church, a call to break free from your weight and bondage. And she's going to be showing you that book along with some slides, and has an awesome message tonight. Please forgive my voice. I am fighting laryngitis, so I'm going to let Jendayi do all the talking tonight. There is her wonderful book. Hold that up for us again. The Chubby Church. Lynn Bishop was somebody who was a test reader for this book, and she raved about it. I have not had a chance to read it yet, and I'm so excited to dig in and learn how I can honor God through, treating my body like a temple. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jendayi Harris. Ladies, if you would mute yourself, and then when Jendayi is done, we can have Q&A together. Sound good? All right.
Well, can you cut my sound off, because I don't have any of those little icons here tonight.
I'll do it now. No problem.
Okay, so we have on the line, we have Cheryl, and who else? What are the other names? I can't see.
We have Carol Hetzler, Kitty Kiefer,
Okay.
Sally Smith.
All right, cool. Anyone else? Okay. I think I can see like the galley view a little bit, but it doesn't have everybody's name on it. So hello, everybody. I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. And we're going to talk about body stewardship. It's one of those topics that you can't get enough of because, as we age, there's different health issues coming up. And it's just a little fight out there, right? With all the temptations and foods that we deal with. So again, my name is Jendayi Harris. Some people just call me Jay. So whatever works for you. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, because Jendayi, that's been butchered quite a lot. And I'm here in Denver Tech Center area as well. So I'm in the Denver area too. So as far as my screen, I don't know if you can see it. So let me know if you can. I don't think I don't know if you can or can't. So you can. You see a PowerPoint? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I want you to get out a sheet of paper because we're going to need it in just a little bit. So make sure you have a piece of paper because we're going to do a quiz and see how good you are at body stewardship. And if you are body neglecting, which is very common. And in the body of Christ, we know that body stewardship is important, right? So I don't know if you are familiar with the chat feature. So you can feel free to use that or even interrupt me if you want to have discussion. You're welcome to. But what is body stewardship anyway? So make sure you have a sheet of paper and we'll get there in a moment. But what is body stewardship? Because we may have heard this term or not even discussed it in quite some time. But body stewardship is about us being the church. We are the temple of God. We carry a spirit. We know that 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, do you not know that you are a temple of God, the living God, that the Spirit of God dwells in you. And yes, God dwells in us. And so body stewardship is a big, broad picture about where we go, what we do, what we eat, how we dress. There's so much to it, what we do with our physical bodies, our sexuality. So the picture of true body stewardship is really broad. We're going to narrow it down to the facts of kind of how we treat our temple from a food perspective and an eating kind of how we care for basic self-care, okay? So when I look at that, what walls do you think block our success? What walls do you think block that body stewardship? What makes us neglect? What makes us, not treat ourselves the best or eat the low quality stuff, the stuff we know we shouldn't be eating, right? What is that about? So there's many walls that we're going to look at, but we're going to actually focus in on one called body neglect. And I want you to leave today with tools that you can use and some really good information and insight into why this is so important. And the walls of body neglect, of body stewardship, breaking down these walls. One big one is denial, where we just simply are not facing reality. And then we get a doctor's note telling us we have hypertension or heart disease or diabetes type 2 or some other issue, okay? We're just simply pretending that somehow our sugar addiction or whatever it is going to clear itself up and we'll be fine. And that's just not the case. We have to actually get into reality and deal with what's real and mature, even in our mouth. So carnality is an interesting subject because it says in the word, to be carnally minded is death. And what it means is we can have premature death. So God he wants us to live. And why in Solomon, it says in Ecclesiastes, why should we die before our time, right? We shouldn't die before our time. So we need to do what we need to do to make sure we're doing the best we can do with God's grace, which is sufficient to take care of ourselves. And one of those things, again, is body neglect. Another one is denial. Another one is confusion on what to do. There are so many things that you can do. Drink wine, don't drink wine, do keto, don't do keto, do paleo. I mean, there's so much confusion out there. Eat eggs, don't eat eggs. You know, the confusion is at a prime high. And there's the most information and data you can find is going to be around health and food, nutrition, etc. Because it works for some, can work for others, and may not work, etc. Because, that's what it is in the marketplace. It's confusion. And this is one of the enemy's prime ways to wage a spiritual war is on our health. One of my good friends was on the way to church and died. He left his wife and his 4 children. He was an anointed music minister, but on the way to church had a big old stroke and died. Driving the car, had to pull over. And it was just so tragic. And then another woman of God who was a just wonderful lady, was a counseling student. She's kind of like a supervisor. And in her office, she was so morbidly obese that she literally would eat whole cakes. I mean, she'd have cakes and stuff in there all the time to eat. And she would eat these all. I mean, it was to the point I wondered how she would go to the bathroom. And what happened was she actually passed away last year. And I cried a lot because I know that it's on God's heart to strengthen our health. And the enemy is after our physical health. He wants us to die before our time, have not enough energy to do his will, and to do more than that, establish his kingdom. Be an impact in the earth and have the energy to do so. It takes energy to be hospitable. It takes energy to mentor somebody else. It takes energy to be involved in the ministry and help out. It takes energy to deal with your family. So the health is a huge, huge spiritual battle. And what's wrong is the body is not always seeing that because of denial, because of confusion, and because they simply don't know how to do it. So I'm going to give you some basics today and some tools that you can use to take away on what to do to really care for your temple. Okay, so body manipulation, I like to talk about that because some of you may have tried diets. Has anybody tried diets before? All right, so anybody tried diets before? Yeah. So body manipulation is about, how can I get my body to be thinner, right? Or something like thinking that way. That's the dieter's mindset. Whereas we really need the soul healing because our soul is actually reflected on the body. This is why we wear clothing and we get to express our soul, our personality, our psyche through the physical body with our clothing and how we look, our weight, our countenance. The soul protects the body. So if we are not safe in our soul, those of us who struggled with weight like I have, I've been 50 pounds overweight several times. And so I always say, I don't know if I'm an expert on weight loss or weight gain, but either way, I'm very happy to help. But nonetheless, the soul has weight to it itself, and it's reflected in the physical body. So weight is simply a symptom. And if we don't like the roots, right? If we don't like the fruits, we need to look at the roots and go a little bit deeper, which is what the book addresses. Our soul also drives choices. We know that our will and volition is based off of how we feel a lot of the time. So emotion is a major driver to how we think and how we feel. We emote before we learn how to talk, and before we can think in words, we know how to emote. And so it's a real powerful force that emotions are that need to be looked at too. And you've already talked so much about the fear, and even the fear of the whole self or the true self possibly, but that's a major wall to you becoming and being your best, even whatever age you are, whatever situations you've been through, even warding off cancer. Some people have had cancer multiple times. It's time for it to all of those fears to go to an end, and we do that with proper stewardship. So we can be in bondage to body, soul, and spirit. So let's look at these stats. And there's a question. It says, can food to the body be just as explicit as pornography is to the mind? And the answer is absolutely yes, right? We know this delicious looking chocolate cake has more fat in it for 3 days worth, okay? We know that, and it's absolutely delicious, but it's only appealing to the taste buds of the flesh. So we need to be mindful of our ratio of eating this type of foods to basically eating real foods, et cetera. So the standard American diet, believe it or not, is 60 to 70% processed foods, meaning non-God made foods, which is a problem because he said in Genesis 1:29, I'm giving you all the seed-bearing plants to eat, and the green plants, eat as much as you want, basically. Have a field day with it. He gave meat later after the flood, kind of like, all right, Noah, now y'all can have some meat, which is good because we know God is a meat lover, right? He likes a well-done burnt offering steak. But the point is, we have really strayed far, far, far from what he would like us to be consuming most, if not all of the time. And there's a lot of balance, there's a lot of grace, but I just want you to think about these things because it's killing us. It really is killing our energy, our body, soul, and spirit. Over 3.3 trillion is spent on chronic diseases. Chronic diseases are your cancer, heart disease, diabetes type 2, and obesity. Okay, so 3.3 trillion is spent on these types of diseases. 90% of all healthcare costs. This is contributing to our ridiculously huge national debt. I mean, it's a major expense and cost to the people, to us, and it's unsustainable for too long. We have to make a correction. 117 million Americans have at least one chronic disease, and 1 in 5 suffer mental illness. So we are in a state of bondage happening. We do emotional eating. We have Homer thinking about this, and I'm queen of emotional eating, which is why I was able to write a book about it, right? Because the emotional part of us that does this excessive eating when we're bored, we're lonely, we're anxious, etc., is the part that God wants to heal, and he healed in me, and was a pretty remarkable experience where I couldn't eat the same if I wanted to, and I've wanted to, but I just can't. It's physically impossible. When he really heals the emotional wounds that emotional eating comes from. So looking at that wall as well. So we're body, soul, and spirit, as you're aware. The spirit is our intuition, that innate wisdom, our conscience, the ability to conscience is that morally right or wrong. It also involves communion with the supernatural. We get the Holy Spirit supernatural, but it is communion with the supernatural. Soul is about, and it's our heavenly connection, or to the heavens. And then we have our soul, which is our will, our desires, our choices, our intellect, etc. And then we have our body, which is a sensual instrument. I mean, our body is what connects us to the earth and is an expression of our soul and allows us to do God's will, right? When we're submitted to spirit within our soul and body, we're able to do God's will. If we're not, we're a fleshy Christian and a carnal Christian. And these are really important concepts. I'm just drilling down. So here's a look at just my transformation, because I really want you to see that when we work on our soul, when we are healing those walls, it actually does manifest on the outside. And someone had prophesied that to me. They said, Jay, your healing, your spiritual and soul healing is going to manifest on the outside. And it did, but I was still having body image issues and things like that. And there's always room to grow, but it's fascinating what God can do with a surrendered soul. Amen, sisters? So we want to come out of denial that what we eat and drink is not affecting us, denial that it's okay when it's not okay, denial of all those things that health issues show up after 10 years of how you treat yourself, and they just get worse because the way our medical system is set up, it's set up to sustain disease, not to cure disease, okay? So looking at how denial is an unconscious defense mechanism, it's characterized by refusal to acknowledge painful realities, thoughts, or feelings. And that is what we do when we deny, right? So I mentioned to get a piece of paper out. I'm going to say these out loud because they're too small on the screen, but I want you to number the paper 1 to 10 in, just linear, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to call out the question, and you're going to put your answer and the number of points that comes with your answer. And then I want you to share. We'll take a little break from from the quieting and share your scores, okay? So this is a body neglect stronghold quiz because you're coming out of body neglect. Body neglect says, I don't care about myself. You know, I can't manage my life. I'm not important. I don't matter. That's what body neglect says. And we want to kill this at the root because you do matter. And the fact some of you are grandparents, some of you are parents, some of you are friends, right? You matter and your life is important and people absolutely need your love to get them through life. So we want to be really good about taking care of ourselves. And even Jesus, what he took time away. He took care of himself. He's like, you know what, disciples, I need a break. So he would take that time for body, soul, and spirit care. And the more people we serve, the more we need to do body, soul, spirit care. So let's see where we're at. So 1, how often do you skip breakfast? How often do you skip breakfast? 5 points for always. 4, often. 3, sometimes. 2, rarely. 1, never. 2, how often do you drink half your body weight in ounces of water? Okay, so is that 1, always? 2, often. 3, sometimes. 4, rarely. Or 5, never. 3, how often do you cleanse your colon, liver, or other organs? 1, biannually is the points. Okay, 1 point for biannually. 2 points for annually. 3, sometimes. 4, rarely. 5, never. How often? 4.
Hold on. Can you do the answers on that one again?
Yeah, so 1 is a biannually, twice a year you cleanse. 2, annually. 3, points for sometimes. 4, rarely. And 5, never. Thanks for interrupting. I appreciate it. So anytime, if I'm going too fast, let me know, okay? All right, are we ready for 4? All right, 4. How often do you have gastrointestinal problems like irritable bowel syndrome or constipation or just acid reflux, any of that? Gas, bloatedness. Okay, 5 is always. 4, often. 3, sometimes. 2, rarely. 1, never. All right, 5. How often do you exercise? I mean, if I put here, how often do you wish you would exercise? We'd all have, that would be a high score, right? But how often do you actually exercise? Is that 1 point for always, 2, often, 3, sometimes, 4, rarely, 5, never. 6. How often do you take a multivitamin or supplementation? Okay, so how often do you take a multivitamin or supplementation? 1, always. 2, often. 3, sometimes. 4, rarely. 5, never. 7, how often do you neglect your body when you're busy? So basically you'll take care of yourself, but then when you get busy, it all just goes away, okay? It gets neglected. Okay, so that's 5, always. 4, often. 3, sometimes. 2, rarely. 1, never. 8, how often do you sleep? 7 to 9 hours per night. 1, always. 2, often. 3, sometimes. 4, rarely. 5, never. 9, how often do you complain of being tired? 5, always. 4, often. 3, sometimes. 2, rarely. 1, never. And last question, 10, how often do you get sick? 5, always, or multiple times a year, colds and things like that. 4, often. 3, sometimes. 2, rarely. And 1, never. And just go ahead and add up your total score. And this will just come off mute for a little bit and share a bit on that. And you can see the point system, basically 10 to 20, anything under 20 points, you're on your way. Anything 20 to 30, you've done some work, and it absolutely shows 30 to 50 points, you're in the right place. Okay, so let's go ahead and come off of mute for just a moment.
We're unmuted. Denise is joining us.
Okay, hi Denise. Any thoughts, ladies, so far?
Well, I know I've talked to you about it, but I would have had a much worse score a couple years ago. But I did go to a nutritionist and found out that I am gluten intolerant. And so I've been on a very regimented diet, not diet, but lifestyle change.
Lifestyle.
You know, like I can look at that piece of chocolate cake and go, wow, it looks great, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth feeling about. So I scored a 20. And that's just because of the last 2 years. But I used to abuse my body by eating fast food on the run, skipping breakfast, all those things. But it has been life-changing for me the last 2 years. So yay, I'm super happy about that.
I'm super happy for you. That's wonderful.
Hey, Denise, thanks for joining us.
Sorry, I'm
We
late.
finished a quiz,
Hi, Denise.
and this is Jendayi Harris, and she's going to talk about the scores on our quiz. So continue on.
All right. Anyone else want to share? Say it again.
30.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it? Any?
Help, I just need help.
Just help me. Okay. That works. That works. All right. Awesome. We'll say you did some work, right? So
Little bit, yeah.
little bit and grow that. Okay. I got you. I got you. All right. Anybody else want to share?
Jendayi,
Yep.
it's Carol with a Y.
Yep.
I got 3 5s. One was the sleep issue. You know, I never sleep more than 4 or 5 hours at a time. I'm awake 3 hours and then I sleep another 3 hours. So, does that really add into the problem of overeating or not eating well?
It does. And you'll see in just a little bit, we'll get to sleep facts, but yeah,
Okay.
usually anywhere between 300 and 550 calories more per day. So on average, around 385 calories more per day when we've had less than 4 hours of sleep. Now you're sleeping like actually at early century, people would sleep 4 hours. They would wake up and they'd go back to sleep for 4 more hours.
Yeah.
So your cumulative sleep number matters too.
Okay.
So let's say you had 6 hours. It should, hopefully it will help you to mitigate some of the other effects that can come with poor sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. Like, oh, okay. Now people used to do that. They would wake up and share their dreams and talk and go back to bed. That's before, you know, we have the industrial age.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
They were farmers. They owned their own businesses. All right. Okay, great. So thanks for playing along with the quiz.
Sure.
And it's insightful. You can kind of see where you want to lean towards or grow into. Okay. So now we're going to go to some tools for you, and I'll go through these fairly quickly. But number one tool, so these are body habits. So inside of the book, I do talk about body habits because that's what it's about. If we can get the basics of our body stewardship without all this incredibly overwhelm of information, just focus on basic care, we are going to reap the blessing of that. And just not, you know, it's not about weight. It's about our health and how do we correct our health. Weight is only a symptom of health, but so are other, you know, prescriptions and stuff like that your doctors may be talking about. So micronutrients. So one of our main issues or physical triggers is our micronutrient deficiency. So what's so interesting is that somebody obese is actually malnourished in a different way than somebody who is, you know, one of those, you know, how we used to watch the commercials all the time of the kids in Africa with the malnourishment belly, because they actually have the starvation of food. Whereas we have a surplus of food, it's just not truly food. It's not nourishing, it's processed. So because of that, we have serious deficiencies inside of our food supply because we're eating the 60% or more from processed foods. So just as some interesting stats, so processed meats like bacon, hot dogs, salami, sausage, lunch meats, they increase your risk of colon cancer by 18%. And they also raise the risk of pancreatic and prostate cancers. So it's really important to eliminate, or if not, or if that's too hard, because I appreciate some sausage, some turkey sausage. The key is to get better quality versions without nitrates, or to make sure you eat it seldom, okay, as a treat. Americans buy and consume 60% of their dietary calories from highly processed foods. And this one is interesting. So a minimum of 400,000 of the 600,000 annual deaths from heart disease are directly linked to poor diet. I mean, it's really clear that this diet that's man-made is not working for us. Deficiencies, as you can see, several deficiencies actually contribute to mental instability and violent behavior. And there's so much research of this, as well as the deficiencies that are related to obesity and diabetes. There's true nutrient deficiencies happening because of over-processed food consumption. And you want to think about today, how much real versus processed food did I eat? You know, when you're thinking about it, like how much did I really eat God-made food from the sun and the earth, or versus packaged products of some kind, or put together in some way, or sodas or drinks, right? So really think about that. How much real food am I actually eating? Because the lower the real food, the bigger the increase of disease. Some tips you can do, just add green vegetables. So 3 cups of green vegetables per day. And I don't care if you add it under spaghetti, you know, or ribs, I don't really care. But I just think you need to add those green vegetables because it is proven to reduce cancer. So that's the amount of vegetables, because for cancer to thrive, it needs to have a lesser oxygen environment. So oxygen is in that green chlorophyll that's in the plants, in addition to water. So you want to keep yourself hydrated, but also just add green vegetables, whatever you're making. If you're making a burger, just find 3 cups of spinach, put on the side, 3 cups of kale, 3 cups of whatever you make a green smoothie. Just keep green in your daily diet. And that's the one habit that makes a huge difference. Taking a whole foods multivitamin. So if you're not doing that one, there was a study done of a multivitamin and for obese patients, and it absolutely did affect their body mass and their energy and their fat metabolism by taking a whole foods multivitamin. I love liquid. I love Source of Life. There's one called Alive. You basically just try them out until you find one that you're feeling the energy. And then you want to improve your absorption. So your digestive, your whole, like Donna shared with us about the gluten issue, that affects digestion and how your nutrients are absorbing. So we don't realize that we're low in stomach acid because of our diets, because of eating so much sweets and flours and junk so frequently. We actually have poor absorption of the foods we eat. So that's a problem. And to get better at it, sometimes it's as simple as chewing. You know, I used to be queen of fast eating, but you know, you need to chew your food. That's where the enzymes get released there. And then a great digestive enzyme is useful, or even some benzene hydrochloric acid to help the stomach when you're digesting meats and things like that. Can be hugely impactful for your absorption. Another tip is to cleanse. So in some of the stats, it says in 9 people tested, more than 249 toxins were found in each of them. Of those, 147 were toxic and 76 are cancer causers. Okay, so there's 3,000 and much more actually chemicals in the processed foods arsenal. We have BPA, that's in all of your plastic bottles. So I don't have a plastic bottle with BPA on me, but those plastic bottles, line canned goods and more, the higher the BPA in urine, there were 5 pounds heavier than those with lower BPA in the urine. And that's from receipts. I mean, even from your receipts, you can get infected with BPA. Good thing is it does excrete quickly. Toxoplasma parasite, which Dr. Hulda Clark, she wrote a book called The Cure for All Diseases. And she says, and she's proven it, that all disease comes from 2 things, pollutants and parasites. So diabetes, for example, wouldn't exist without the parasite erythrema, along with the pollutant of wood alcohol, which is found in bottled drinks and cans. Okay, so wood alcohol. So those two, the solvent of wood alcohol, as well as the uretrema parasite, which comes through lamb and different foods, can get affected, then you're going to birth diabetes. So this is beyond the insulin glucose equation. And we talk about both. I talk about both in the book, but it's important to think about cancer. There's different types of parasites associated with that. Insomnia, there's associated with ammonia in the body that's at a toxic level in the brain. So there's so much to this picture. That's why I had to write a book about it. But my point is, there's toxins that we have to be on a continual cleanup of our colon to make sure we're excreting well, our harmful organisms, the parasites, fungus, bacteria, et cetera, in our systems, and our liver, which is the source of everything in the body. Your liver processes 10 tons of blood. It is always working, and it's so instrumental that a third of it will grow back if chopped off. And we're killing it with alcohol, prescriptions. It's just overloaded. It's simply overloaded, and we need to take fasting breaks at times, but also just cleansing it and giving it some nutrients so that it can thrive. And your liver loves green and bitter foods, whereas your taste buds may not, but your liver does, okay? So cleaning up, you can get colon cleansers right at the counter at Vitamin Cottage or somewhere, but you want to make sure you're doing this on a periodic, biannual basis of cleaning out your body. Same thing with parasite cleanses. Everyone needs to do that at least once a year because it affects our lungs. It affects all of our organs. We want to be cleaning that out as well as our liver. Okay, and then inactivity facts. So exercise is another one, and then we'll wrap up. Oh, I have sleep on there. So quickly for exercise, a 2016 study of more than 1.44 million men and women showed that regular exercise decreased the risk of 13 types of cancers, my friends. So including liver, lung, breast, and colon cancers. I don't know about you, but I'm 39 years old. I have lost 2 friends already from breast cancer, and several more are struggling at this very moment, okay? So it's like, wow, why is breast cancer happening not only to my generation, but others of your generation too? And it's really a pain. It's horrible to see young moms die because of breast cancer. So exercise is one of those things that dramatically helps reduce the risk along with the other body habits. Ages 40 and up make up 50% of marathon finishers, so it's never too late. And exercising for any amount of time reduces the risk of premature death by 20%. And a little bit more exercise, 31%. 90 minutes a day, 39%, but there's no more benefit after 90 minutes. So keep it there. So one tip is to keep stickers. Like to build the habit, you have to start somewhere. And your goal is to keep stickers every time you exercise or track it with a tracker. Then you'll start building the habit. It took me 2 years to really fully build this habit, but I stopped yo-yo exercising. That's when you exercise for a day and you're off the next year or 3 months. So consider how you can build the habit. And it's hard to start, but once you start, you just don't want to stop. And you want to give yourself love and grace every time you miss it, okay? So, and your goal is, again, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, once a week, whatever, just get consistent. And finally, poor sleep. And there's more body habits, but I just wanted to give you an overview, and I'm going to wrap up because we're at about time for Q&A. But less than 6 hours a night of sleep increases the likelihood of diabetes by 30%. Short sleepers are 3 times more likely to get a cold than 8-hour sleepers. Your gut produces 95% of serotonin and hormones that affect sleep. So when gut balance is off, it can create chronic insomnia. Inadequate sleep causes those hormonal changes that lead to overeating, slow metabolism, high insulin resistance, and larger BMI. Blue light from cell phones has to go, right? We have to turn it off because it does affect your quality and quantity of sleep. And then partial sleep deprivation, to Carol's question earlier, leads to 385 extra calories per day, if not more, okay, on average. So tips for you: have bedroom boundaries. Make sure there's no electronics, like even your cell phone, put far from you at night. Your computer, like my computer now, is on a dimmer screen for red light versus blue light. And then practice some sleep hygiene, which is about, dark and making sure the room is dark because it helps you produce melatonin. Having a bedtime routine, like I get the incense out and that just calms me for some reason. I go right to sleep. You may need some sleepy tea. whatever you need to do to try to get more quality and quantity of sleep. All right, let's do some, these are the body habits from the book, The Chubby Church. This is available on Amazon.com. So you go to Amazon.com, order the book. It's a really fun read. And in there are several different quizzes, but they're going to help you break free from weight and eating bondage for sure. So the book number 1 is on Amazon, and I'll be finishing book 2 really soon to deal with the food addiction and generational stuff, etc. So with that said, friends, there's so much more to share, especially from a spiritual perspective, but regarding exercise, Jesus walked a lot. We would not have the gospel if people didn't walk. So I think it was a hidden spiritual discipline that was understated for sure. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts? How you doing?
Going back to the food, how important are nuts in a diet?
It depends on your level of fat metabolism. If you do not have a gallbladder, I wouldn't eat too many. If you have a struggling gallbladder, do not eat too many. Yeah, so they're very good, but they're to be used sparingly. And what happens is people just, like I did, I would munch on a whole bag of pistachios, like nothing, but they're still highly caloric and extremely high fat, which is one of our biggest problems we're having is we're eating way too much fat. Not, the recommended amount is 20 to 30 grams per day of fat from the USA food. Yeah, so it's just a matter of how much fat your body can take and making sure you're using them sparingly. They're wonderful. A diverse diet is balanced and wonderful. So like on salads or, occasionally is great.
Yep, thank you.
So what do you think about the keto diet?
I don't advocate any diet. I have a person who took my class, Whole and Free Health, and he has released 60 pounds and found the material that I was teaching really beneficial for him because he really was in a crisis state. So he's lost a lot of weight. He loves keto. I frankly don't like any extremes. So that's just me coming out of weight and eating bondage. But it's been some people make it really beneficial. But for women, actually, the research shows that the fat is not great for us all the time. It's good quality fat. But some people abuse it and still don't eat enough vegetables. So it's just a matter of balance because you can do keto right and you can still do it like a vegan, right? They don't eat meat, but you can eat a bunch of chips. It's like, it's keeping it all in balance and perspective.
Okay. And what do you think about the eating organic versus non-organic and kind of balancing that out?
Yeah, I think it's more about what your budget can afford. If your budget can afford the highest quality, go for the highest quality. The difference is incredible as far as the nutrient density in organic vegetables versus inorganic, in addition to grass-fed meat versus non-organic meat. That's, CAFO, or concentrated animal farming operation.
Okay.
So you get more omega-3, fat from the meat, which is great. You're going to get more nutrients out of the meat when they're grass-fed versus grain-fed. And typically the organics are grass-fed. So it's worried about your budget. It's more about what your budget can afford and getting the highest quality your budget can afford, or at the very least, just eating more real foods and wash it really good if it's standard. Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. And Ani is on as well, and she's listening. And so I typed her a message if she had questions as well. I'll let you know. Does anybody else have questions?
Was this helpful for you guys? Was it a good lesson?
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, me and Donna were like, I can make it happen, Donna. I was like, let me figure something out for you guys, for you all. So
you always have good
book.
Huh?
I'm excited to get the book.
Yeah.
Yes, hold up our book again.
Okay. You see it?
There you are.
Yeah, I tried to make it as fun. I have a special event for readers, so feel free to email me your information, your email at least, because I have a June 1st luncheon that is for readers and a reading plan and all of that. So we have the lots of fun in here. I'm telling you, I worked on this thing, you know how long? 7 years. 7 years.
Like a long time.
That is forever. That's like all my life. It's like my last decade. Like, oh my God, you're killing me. You're killing me. Like, all right, March 30th, you got to get this thing done. So I told my boss at work, I'm like, boss lady, I can't work. I got to get my book done. She's like,
Good.
what? I'm like, and then God made me #1 in the company because he was like, you have to get this book done. And I was like, okay. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's an amazing story, but yeah, I know it's going to help. I know it's a huge threat to the kingdom of darkness. And that makes me very excited.
Good. I'm excited for you. And what's the second book?
Second one is this part 2 of the Weight in Eating Mountain. So we're going to go over a mountain. I wish the issue was not so complex, but it is.
Right.
So darn, but yes. And then the next one is called How to Not Suck as a Mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just who comes up with these titles?
That's funny.
Can you see it?
Oh, that's great. I love it.
And it says it's an 8-step action plan to win back the heart of your adult child and find your joy.
Oh,
Great.
So a lot of times we have that brokenness with children. I don't actually have children. My mom though would send me Mother's Day cards.
Oh, sweet.
Because we had role reversal in our family because she was a 25-year pain pill addict. So that's a whole nother story.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's been a lot, but you know, I really want to help moms. So one of my friends who died from the cancer, she banned her mother from seeing her the last several months of her life. And I just felt so sorry for her mother because she was so toxic. Her daughter would not see her.
Wow.
So she brought her into the world, but couldn't, leave and get out. So, we got to pray for you, Donna. Get that sickness be gone.
yeah.
Did you hear me? I had muted myself.
I know. I'm like feeling you.
Oh, gosh. I keep muting when I have to cough so you don't have to listen to it.
I understand.
Hey, do you know, what percentage of emotional issues causes disease? Or how that contributes?
Not specific. So, like, as far as emotional eating or just emotional that's called somatization. So there is a psychological aspect to disease. I don't have the exact stats though on how much that's prevalent.
Okay.
Having emotional, baggage that's contributing to the diseases.
Right. Yeah, you had so much information. I was just trying to take notes and write down questions as it came up. So, and could you explain a little bit about the pollutant? I think you said wood alcohol and the parasite that causes diabetes.
Yeah, urethema and wood alcohol as a combination in Dr. Polder Clark's research sparked diabetes, which is fascinating.
Wow.
There's several examples of various diseases. And where's her book? I don't have it handy, but it's called The Cure for All Diseases. She has several books. She's very extreme in the health matters, like, no makeup, no,
Right.
toxins at all. But we don't have that level of fear because we walk in Jesus Christ, ladies. We walk in liberty and truth. And you know what? We can take it one day at a time with our King. He has got our back.
Amen to that.
Amen.
All right, that sounds good.
And one more question.
Yeah.
Jendayi, toward the beginning of your message, you said that we need soul healing. And then did you say soul has weight? Did I hear that right?
Yeah, so our soul can reflect. For me, I didn't realize I was wearing the weight of my past, the weight of my sin, the weight of my insecurities, the weight of my challenges and pain. I had a lot of grief because my dad was murdered when I was 12 years old.
Oh.
He was a substance abuse addict. And so my soul, I was a devastated soul. I had rejection in my very DNA, in the sperm and the egg that created me to overcome. So it was the soul weight that we can eat from and do things from, and that soul weight, you may not have any chubology going on or chubbiness going on, but as far as our reality, the soul does weigh. It does weigh on us.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Thank you.
Sure. All right, ladies.
I've got to take notes tomorrow. There was so much to take. I'm still taking notes here. So,
didn't meet your expectations, Donna.
Oh my gosh, you are awesome. You are so awesome. Thank you for taking time. And I know you had a conflict in scheduling and you made it happen here. So I know I'll have other ladies watching because sometimes during the spring and May it gets really busy. So they will watch online after, and we'll upload the recording to YouTube as well. So can you give us the cover and show us your book one more time before we finish up?
The Chubby Church.
Chubby Church. Jendayi.
A Call to Break Free.
A call to break free of weight and eating bondage.
And we all want to be free, right?
It's
Amen.
Yep, permanent weight release and freedom.
Yes. All right, that sounds great. Well, thank you. We've been talking with Jendayi Harris, counselor, speaker, author. Yay, we all give you applause. So awesome.
All right,
and we hope you'll come back, and we wish you many blessings on your new book. We're all going to grab it, read it, and if you need reviews or whatever you need from us, let us know. We just appreciate your time so very much, and thank you. I love my Jericho girls. We'll be back together again on June 6th. Laura Pageant's going to talk about breaking down walls of unforgiveness. So also, Ani typed in a message, and she said, thank you, Jendayi. Great message with a bunch of explanation points.
Okay, I'm putting my email in here too, just in case you want to email me if you got the book.
Great. Can you all see that?
Yep.
Right.
And I will send email and notes tomorrow as well. But you want to get updates from Jendayi because she always has good stuff to say. Yeah. All right, ladies, we're going to call it a night. Thank you so much for joining. Love you, and we will see you in a month.
Okay. Take care, Donna.
All right.
And thank you, Jendayi.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.